can start whenever you're ready.
Okay. So, hi everybody. My name is Rita Tinega. I am a professional photographer based in Lowell, Mass, and also Rhode Island. And I also am a editor-in-chief of Visual Mag. I started photography 8 to 9 years ago. It was heavily influenced by my father and him, and taking pictures and doing photo walks with him. And with that, it made me love photography and love cameras, and that's why I started, taking pictures. And with the magazine, I started that 3 years ago. It's going to be 4 years in July, and I just wanted to have a platform for creatives to talk about their work and inspire the young creatives coming up in their communities.
Nice. Yeah. So Rita, I have been following Visual Mag for quite a bit now. I've been very excited to talk to you. I've been trying to find the perfect time to hit you up for an interview, but I think Women's History Month is ideal. So it is great that we're talking now, especially you being not only a creative yourself, but also having that media platform is what drew me to you, and I'm very excited to get into the interview. Anyways, let's go into it. I'm not done bragging on you. I'm going to keep doing it throughout the interview, but let's get into the questions. So we start our interview with, are you hood grown? And if so, how does that influence your aesthetic?
So I want to say yes and no. I grew up in Kenya, and I came in when I was 7 years old. And when we moved from Kenya, obviously it was an urban background, but now when we moved to Lowell, I lived in, first it was a very suburban area, but the second location we moved to was in near downtown Lowell. So obviously the different cultures that's around there, and meeting different people, going to a very urban, diverse school, Lowell High, and that got a chance to interact with different races, not just one race. And it has influenced my aesthetic is because I love knowing people's stories and where they come from and why do they do the things they do. And I feel me being curious about other people is what branched out with Visual Mag. It's just it's some of the questions I asked as an artist of oh my gosh, how do they take that picture? Where did they take that picture? What made them think to take that picture? So asking those questions was just all right, I bet other creatives, young creatives are asking these questions, and they probably feel there's a culture of being competitive, and I didn't want that. I wanted to be above that and have a community where we can ask each other questions and help each other and advise each other, especially the ones coming up. They have the talent, but they just don't have the right people to talk to. So that has definitely influenced my aesthetic when it comes to Visual Mag, and also in photography, just being able to work with so many different ethnicity, and when it comes to editing a skin, person of color and person of light skin or a little lighter, it has just helped me to be very here we go. It has helped me to just think about my artwork a lot more than just pasting a filter on a photo. Yeah.
Dope. So before we go into the nitty gritty of your artwork and Visual Mag, I like to do a check-in. We're still in a pandemic. We're still in this panda. We're still in this panini press.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling, coping, and how are you caring for yourself right now?
So when it first happened, it hit me hard. Being canceling the Visual Mag events, all my gigs getting canceled. I went into this low moment because I'm just oh my gosh, I just quit my job to this full time. Now I can't even start because everything is being shut down. So it had me second guessing, am I making the right decision of quitting my job, and how do I go from here? How am I going to get any income? But with that, obviously, I felt it. One of the things that I'm learning to do is feel it instead of burying it in, try to work to not, feel the feeling. I don't know if that makes any sense, but so I just went through the moment and felt it, and I started coming up with ways that I can still build my brand, Visual Mag, and still be able to do photography. I try to do the iPhone photography thing, but I'm that's not for me. But kudos to other photographers who are doing that. But it gave me a chance to really continue working with working on visual mag, because like balancing a full-time job and then those two, sometimes like I focus one more than the other. And before I was focusing more on photography than visual mag. So with the pandemic, I was able to like work more on visual mag and build it and still interact with other creatives by doing Instagram interviews, because that's when, you know, Instagram Live was popping. So I was just like, yo, might as well utilize this and feature the issue that was supposed to have the party for, and just have a little live interview where people can still meet them, know who they are and what they do. And with that, like I slowly started coming up with ideas. So I picked up videography with that. And I started, you know, capturing little moments of like my family, me, stuff that I want to document, that I want to remember, and also starting to implement it in my client work. So sometimes if I work with a client, I'm like, hey, this is this, because I'm not a professional. I'm just doing this for fun, but I love to take some footage where I can edit it, and then like, you know, you can use it as how you want. And then, you know, after the shutdown and the summer came, things started picking up, which was really good. And I was able to get back into photography, and it felt good. It felt good to get back into photography, and it felt good just to like, you know, interact with other people. Even though we were socially distant, it was still good to be able to like, you know, go to a location and do a photo shoot. So I started feeling better, and then the holidays hit, and I think I burnt out. And then by then I just felt like I was creative, like I had a creative block. I did not know what I wanted to do. Yes, I was still booking. I just felt like I wasn't giving it my all. And I think it was just a moment to be like, you know, you were so stressed out during COVID, well, not during COVID, during the shutdown and quarantine, and then holiday hits. I did actually end up having COVID. I think that's what also took a lot out of me.
Do it to you.
Yeah, took a lot out of me. So getting COVID, burning out, I was just like, I didn't have a chance to just like take a moment and just breathe. And so I used that like the month of January just to like relax and like fully, I'm starting to feel a little bit feel a little bit better about myself. Yeah.
Nice. I am amazed that you were able to be so productive over this pandemic, because for me, it's been like my excuse to like shut down in so many ways. I'm like, we have cut down the amount of episodes we're producing. We're doing this. Like, I need breaks, y'all. So kudos to you for like working through it in a lot of awesome ways, and like, you know, inventing new ways of trying to connect with your artists, which is dope. And also, you know, picking up a new skill. How? I don't, okay. And having COVID. How did you do all of that? Okay.
I don't know. That's why I burned out.
Yeah, that's totally understandable. Totally understandable. So to go a little bit more into your photography work, I looked all over your website and I love it. It's gorgeous. Particularly your I'm primarily talking about your portraits and more editorial work. We'll get to your wedding and event photos as well. But your work is such a celebration of brown skin. And how would you describe your relationship to brown, and how would you describe your color palette?
As you can see, I love brown.
Yeah.
My color palette is very like rich in contrast, you can say, a little bit on the moody, dark moody vibes. And for me, I want to create a feeling, and I feel like using like how I edit gives that feeling and gives this like, it has a warm tone to it, so you get the warm feeling when you look at certain photos. But I also have like cool tone photos, but still like when you're looking at it, you're getting some sort of like feeling when you look at the photo. Yeah, it's in the browns, the greens, a little bit of blue there. And it's such a journey from like how I first started editing photos to now. Sometimes like I should throw in photos like that I used to when I started photography and I was just learning. And I feel like I finally found like my true style, and I love like working with clients and them looking at the photos like, oh, that looks like me. Because sometimes like they'll say like I worked with other photographers and they made me lighter and I don't look that light, or they made me too dark and I'm not that dark. You kind of like keep it true to color, and like that's what I want to do, but still to be able to have you know, my style in it, even though it's true to color.
Dope.
Yeah.
I was always like, when I looked at your work, I was like, there's such a warmth. There's such a royalness to this brown. Like you make brown skin look so, I mean, obviously it's beautiful, but a lot of photographers can fuck that up. And that's like, it's amazing to me. I'm like, how do you make something so beautiful? Like, how did you do that?
Like, it's not that light. Like,
yeah, I don't know how they mess it up. Anyways, how do you approach your wedding event photography different from your portraits and editorial work? Is there like a difference in the way that you kind of enter spaces? Did you have different kinds of plans?
yeah.
Obviously, you can plan out your portraits a little bit more than a wedding shoot.
Yeah.
So how do you go about that?
With the wedding is usually what the client wants. So they have like certain shots that they want. And obviously, like I can suggest the couple. That would be interesting. I feel like with my portrait editorial work, I have more creative freedom to do different poses, have them do something random that you won't expect to do in a wedding. And with that, I go, it's like I portion the same, but yet like when it comes to how I work them, it's both different. Like I mentioned, like with portraits and editorials, more of the creative. We can explore more, try different things with the weddings, even though there's a structure. I do ask before I do something like, hey, can we try something different that hasn't been done before? But if you say no, I totally understand. And some clients have given me that freedom to try something. Some clients are like, no, we just want to stick with the basic, and that's totally fine too. Yeah.
So this kind of connects to that question, but how do you make connections with your subjects? I often ask this of photographers because I've been shot many of times by photographers, and I only shoot with photographers that I'm actually comfortable with, that I actually have a friendship with first, because otherwise I'm going to be awkward. How do you connect with your subjects?
Yeah, by talking to them, honestly. Like I always tell them, I know you feel nervous, but don't feel nervous. We're just hanging out, we're catching up. And I always do like a test shot. And then before they know it, they're like a little bit comfortable in front of the camera, we're laughing, or we're, having a good time, we're listening to music. And before you know it, they're like more relaxed and they're taking relaxed photos. Then, I won't want a client to come work with me and then them be stiff all the time, because you're not going to be getting like the true they're not going to be the true selves. They're going to be very like, you could say stiff and like robotic with their poses, and I just want them to be able to like relax and breathe. So I just talk to them, and sometimes I can be very awkward, so I just like crack myself up and they crack up too. And I just ask them like, simple question like, hey, how's it going? How's your week been? What's new? Like, what Netflix shows are you watching? What new music are you listening to? And if we have the same, like, music taste, we usually put it on, start vibing, just dancing, and you're just having a good time. The best thing that I always hear from my clients, they always say it's like, I feel like I just hanged out with my best friend and I got great pictures out of it. And I'm like, I love that.
That's so nice.
Yeah, so someone was like, you should make that as your slogan. And I'm like, I'll think about it, because like, yeah, I want people to feel like they had a good time and the photo shoot to be happy with them being, in my environment, and also seeing the photos after. They're like, wow, yeah, that's me.
So awesome. Yeah. So when you do work on location, do you scout locations for every shoot you do? And what inspires you to create? You talked about nature walks with your dad early on in the interview, but what inspires you now and to keep creating?
Yes, so the first question is like, I do scout locations, but if I'm shooting at a location I've been before, then I don't do it. But I love finding like simple locations that you can do so much in. That's like one of the things that I go for. And I love a lot of greenery, so always using like a green, background. And what inspires me now is still photo walks. Like I have cameras that I force myself to carry, because there's been moments where I'm just like, I'm not gonna bring it, and then before you know it, I have my phone and I'm just like, yeah, I should have my camera. But just like being able to have my camera with me and still taking pictures of like small things, of like landscapes, the sunset, sunrises, to keep shooting, that's what keeps inspiring me to create, because I'm like, oh, I want to this be like a nice location at this time for a photo shoot. And Even though it wasn't like even though I was not scouting the location, it was still a normal day. It would be a great piece. I forgot what I was saying.
You just fell upon locations and then you can realize that they can be key locations for photo shoots. Got you. I'm here. I'm following.
Yeah, you got it. I told you I was.
No, I can follow your conversations.
Yeah. I know when something happens, I'm just like, oh my gosh, you're talking about this. You can hear yourself talking. I'm like, wait.
No, I totally get that. That's why this is why I have a script in front of me. I'm not going off of, I go a little off script, but not much. Yeah. So let's shift the conversation slightly. So we were just talking all about, your photography and your craft as a photographer. But now tell us about Visual Mag. What inspired this project and what passion pushes this magazine to continue? Because I know a lot of magazines that have started. Mm-hmm. And they just do 1 or 2 volumes and then it's over. So what makes you continue this project?
The network it brings and how like the creatives have networked with each other, because sometimes I always see a musician working with a different photographer or a different videographer, or I'll see a model working with like multiple photographers who were featured in the issue, and just them being able to be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you were a photographer. I didn't know this was your story. Oh my gosh, like let's work together, let's collaborate. And that's the reason I keep being consistent with the magazine, is because I love it. I love how it's bringing creatives together. Even if they were featured in like first issue and the 9th issue, they're still finding ways to, again, to collaborate. And I started the magazine because, being a creative is, again, this huge competitive field, and everybody wants to be a photographer, and like you'll ask somebody like, oh, where'd you shoot that, like where'd you shoot this, like where's this location, they're like, oh, I kind of find it on my own, like and they won't tell you what it is, and you're just like, why are you being so like
it's so strange?
Yeah, like my style is obviously different, like I'm not going to take away from you, and if you want, I'll credit you for finding the location.
But you didn't make the location, just want to make that clear.
Exactly. Yeah. So I just wanted to create a platform where creatives can feel safe to ask other creatives, like, how was your journey? And like, what have you learned that I should do for when I'm coming up? And not even just coming up, but like even experienced photographers, and they're trying to be, try to get back into this game, or like, because, sorry, let's cut that. I'm sorry.
No, it's so cool.
Yeah, it's just like how, like even experienced photographers who are in this field and how fast it's changing, they can still work with younger photographers and not feel like, hey, like I'm left out type of thing. And yeah, I made it a print only edition, and a lot of people are like, print is dead. And I'm like, no, print is not dead. Yeah. People still love buying Visual Mag, and it's not just like, a typical magazine. It's like a coffee table piece where you look through it, you see art, and not just art from not art from like high-end photographers. It's local people that you're supporting, and it's even local people that you can get in contact with to do work for you. And yeah,
that's the dopest part, that you can like easily get in contact with these people. It's just like, it's not crazy to hit one of these artists up and be like, yo, like I love your work, can I get some? Like, which is like, we don't feel that way when we look in Vogue or look in like, but it is awesome that that's what Visual Mags bring. But it also, I feel like I have seen the print. I had the pleasure of seeing it. Sydney showed me it, so I was able to see it from her. And she was showing it to me, so I was able to see the layout. So how do you approach designing your layout for Visual Mag? And do you have like a background in graphic design, or how did you approach this?
So I don't have a background in graphic design. It's all self-taught. And then with the layout, I was just getting inspired by just like looking at books, looking at other magazines. And I usually have like a planner where before I even like put the magazine together, I'm already having ideas of like, oh my gosh, it'd be cool if we do this, if I do that. And half the time, I'm just like, I don't even know how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna make it happen. And yeah, I also try not to get like too crazy with the design because I don't want it to take away from the creatives themselves. I want to be able to keep it very simple and visually attractive as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it definitely like highlights the art high key, and it doesn't like take away from the art at all. And that's like the point, right? I think. uh, so how do you choose the work you feature in Visual Mag? Is it all connections you have to artists, or are you like, finding connections through other artists? How are you exactly getting your Visual Mag community?
Yeah, so I do a call for submission, and I always post it on my photography account, personal account, and also the Visual Mag account. And just by posting it and sharing it to like LinkedIn, Facebook, other photography groups that I'm in. For example, like Girl Magic Meets and like a photography one on Facebook that I'm a part of. And I'll be like, hey, I'm looking to feature new creatives. And with that, I also have a theme for each issue. And I try to have creatives like still be able to branch out and like try something new, but still be able to stay in the theme. And if they do, then that's how I submit them to the magazine.
Oh,
yeah.
So if anyone is interested, I guess look out for your next call. Dope.
Be on May for our 4-year anniversary issue.
Ooh, that's very exciting. I will be purchasing this 4th-year one because I finally have a beautiful place to put it. So I will be for sure. So what's next? Oh, go ahead.
What's next for Visual Mag?
What's next for you in your work? You're like answering the question. We're like I'm asking the question as you're answering it. My bad.
So I have a couple new changes I'm going to be making to the issue, especially like the front cover and the back cover are going to be different to what they are now. I'm still working on the design aspect of it, so I don't have anything definite, but just know it's going to look something different. I definitely want to, try something new. Like, why not? And hopefully doing pop-up shop, COVID safe pop-up shops, and still be able to still bring people together. And now with the vaccine, hopefully by July we'll be able to have our annual anniversary party, and we can dress nice, get together, have a catch up, have good vibes, and hopefully my goal, because it's been my goal, but then COVID happened. My goal is to be a monthly magazine other than the quarterly magazine, but I'm gonna see how April and July work out. And if it's good, then starting August will be a monthly issue. And I'm like, let's take on more. But I'm very excited to see the growth of the magazine, and I hope me making these changes and also being a monthly magazine, people can subscribe and be able to get to ship out magazine more than just waiting order for each issue. So I'm hoping I'm making the right decisions.
But we're all for it here. Hoodgrown definitely endorses Visual Mag, so that's for sure. We'll if you do go monthly, let us know. We will definitely advertise. So lastly, where can the people find you? Where do you want to be found is more a better question than walking down the street where you walk your puppy. I don't want people no one needs to know that.
So I have the Visual Mag account, which is @VisualMag_. That one you can check if you want to submit to the magazine or you want to just keep up with what we're doing. Definitely follow that. For my photography, it's @TheLovelyRita_. That has more of my portraiture work, editorial. And for my wedding and events, it's @Maritz Photo Wedding. Wedding,
wedding.
So three Instagrams.
And you also have 2 websites, right?
Yes, so visualmag.inc is again for Visual Mag, and maritzphoto.com to book a shoot. I am booking for the month of April and so on. The weather's getting nice, and yeah, I want to shoot outside. So if you want to create something new or just collab, hit me up. We can create some magic.
Dope. I have to admit, every time I look at your Instagram handle, I like sing the Beatles song "Lovely Rita."
Yeah.
It's really hard not to.
And that's
really, really good.
In high school, I remember everybody was, most of my teachers were like, "Is Rita here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, here." Lovely Rita. And I'm like, "Yeah." A lot of people have told me, yeah. I'm like, you know what? This is my Instagram handle. I'm taking it.
Yeah, rebrands. Keep it. It's yours. Dope. Well, thank you so much, lovely Rita, for being able to take your time out and talking to us. I know you're a very busy woman, and I feel like we have a very close connection in the work that we do. So it was very nice to speak to you and find another creative that also has a media platform and balancing the two. You know, it's a lot of work, but I know, kudos to you. That's for sure.
And you too. So,
yeah.
Thank you again for interviewing me. It's great to be in your platform.
Yeah, of course. I'm glad it finally happened.
I know, definitely.